Sand castles. Sand castle. You go to the beach, you build your castle, tide comes in, washes the sand castle down. Well, that earthquake in Turkey reminded me of the earthquake in Haiti, that the Port-au-Prince, where basically Port-au-Prince was built on a sandbar. An earthquake came along and did this, and all the buildings slid down there, or they crumbled, and all the buildings on the land flattened out, crumbled. Even the president's palace crumbled. And somebody said, "Why?" Well, one of the reasons it crumbled was the concrete. Very likely it had a lot more. They had sea sand in the concrete. And they didn't put a lot of tie bars in the concrete. Proper amount of when you build with cement, what you're supposed to do. And as I said about sea salt, sand, there was less concrete than there was sea sand. So something comes along that does this, everything comes that. Wow. And that's all across Haiti. And one of the reasons I remember back in my old days in school, about 50 years ago, a local university, the university was built, and they got the lowest bid on it. Okay, the state said, "Oh yeah, beautiful." They also the contracting company also came in with their own designs. The cement columns, remember those cement columns in many buildings had beautiful cement columns, in their buildings, and the new concept and that was a redesigned new building and everything else. Three stories tall. The outside had rusted steel plating on one side toward the outside, and inside they had steel plating with marine paint on it. Beautiful colors, nice and that thing. And then wood walls after that, and everything was fireproof. Yeah, everything was listed as being fireproof. And concept of that thing. Yeah, yes. The cement columns and that, you've seen this stuff along roadways, little round, I won't say something like that, cylinders, paper cylinders. Those are filled with concrete. And what that is, that every time there's a truck that brings in concrete from the concrete mixer of the company, they take a sample. And what the sample is they bring it to a lab when it's cured, cured. They take it to that, they remove the paper, and they take a press, and they're pressing it down for strength. And it cracks. Well, eventually it will crack. It get enough pressure, 4,000 pounds or something like that. And it cracks. Oh, yeah, well, that thing. It shows it's good concrete. And that's how they do it. Well, at the university, they did the same thing. They put up these columns, and the truck would come in, and they would every truck would pour the little cylinders, and they would cure. They would bring them back to the labs and prove that they're strong. Well, the contractor, the first couple of trucks that came in, they got more than one of these. They got a whole half a dozen of these, maybe a dozen of these from the truck. And well, why do they do that? They only need one. This column like this, and a couple of columns. And they would bring back. What they did was to take 6 of these or 12 of these from a truck and put them aside. And when they got dried, they put them into a trailer and marked them. Yeah. And then the state comes along and tests these things, and they come out. Well. it turns out to be when the first column was going up, they tested and it was a proper density, and that worked. And all the stuff they tested were all these things. Well, what the contractor did was to arrange to have less concrete and more sand. Wait a minute. But they did all these. Well, yeah, they would get one of these from the later pillars. They would take it back to the trailer and give them the marking of the first couple columns. So they substitute the old stuff for the new stuff. And the new stuff they dumped somewhere. Of course not. It contained more sand than it was supposed to. And how they got caught on this is that same company was building a post office. And at the post office, they mix their own concrete and sand together and for mortar and that thing. Well, they did the same thing at the post office. They substituted more sand than concrete. And they put this wall up. Rain comes along and starts dissolving the mortar between the bricks. And literally, one wall fell. And they said, wait a minute, what else are they doing? They go to the university and they check out the stuff they're getting. Well, they put somebody in the back watching this, what they're doing. And he would go in there and he would initial his stuff on the thing and take them back to the lab. And stuff dries out, cures and dries out, and they try the compression. Smash. From the original ones, they said, well, we have this many pounds per square inch we could do. Now, the new ones are not. So they checked back with the concrete mixers. They said, yeah, they wanted more sand in, so we do as we're told, put more sand in. They have to go in here and pull all the columns down. Okay. They pulled all the columns down because too much sand in there. What would have happened when they put everything up? Oh, it would be only a matter of time that the columns would basically change of humidity within the building would weaken the columns, as they did to all the fireproofing. All the material that was in there in the rooms that had fireproofing in it, all the firing-proofing material went from the top and they sunk. Humidity changes. Now, the outside walls were steel. That's the thing. But that's not what was put up. It was a thinner grade of steel. And marine paint is expensive. That's right. Marine paint is expensive. So the interior was supposed to be marine paint. It wasn't marine paint. They cut corners. But they got their $18 million. Oh, that would thing be the water to the university contained a high amount of iron. That screwed up everything for all the waters, the toilets, the sinks, the washing, the showers, the swimming pool. They had to do is fight that. They had to change all the pipes inside. That's expensive. Oh, here's one for you. I don't know who put in the electric in that thing, but they put a hot wire to the ground. Wait a minute. You had ground for everything. Oh, no. One section of the school, it was hot. People were getting shocks, little shocks off of that thing. The science labs, they basically had to go through every outlet and look what was going on, and they found some of the hot wires were in the ground wires. Yeah, yes, and the electric fixtures. Oh, yes, the electric fixtures. And the same thing. The electric fixture didn't fit here, and that didn't fit there. The into the windows were leaking air, and the steel on the side of that was supposed to last 100 years. Within a few years, it was corroding. Um, you could see the insulation. Yeah, yeah. And so you get something like Turkey, and Turkey is yeah, they cut back on everything. Contractors go in here and basically substitute concrete with sand. What happens during an earthquake? When it happens to nothing, nothing happens until you shake the building. What happens? The building falls. It pancakes. Yes, that's a problem. The standards they didn't have the standards. But in China, you look at some of the buildings in China. Uh, they would shoot the contractor if he skimped on something. Oh, I'm going to make money off of this. No, you're not, because the party official is held responsible for the building that goes up. If there's something wrong with that party, they don't just take the contractor out; they take the communist official out. Yeah, they're very very nasty in China. Oh, you're gonna go to trial, go away for a few years. No, we're gonna shoot you. Yeah, that's one of the things that about living in China. Contractors really have to watch what they're doing because they can get shot. Well, that's one way to keep making sure your buildings stay up for 100 years. Because remember, they're China. They've been building for 5,000 years. So, the Great Wall of China still, in most places, are still standing. That says a lot after 1,000 years. Hey, go back to Rome. Aqueducts are still there, unless it gets hit with an earthquake. They're still standing. A lot of Rome is still standing. A lot of Greece is still standing. Yeah, a lot of buildings in Turkey no longer are standing. Sandcastles, boys, sandcastles. It's rough. It's very rough. I feel sorry for the Turks, and in Syria, the same thing. Substandard building codes, or no building codes at all. You only find out if you had that once in 100-year earthquake. Well, it seems to get more than a once in a year earthquake there, and it seems that the same people who have put the buildings up are going to put the buildings up again. Uh, yeah. That's why you have building codes. Oh yes, building codes. Uh, hey, I live outside the city of Chicago. So talk about building codes. Yeah, every time there's an earthquake, somebody. Good thing there is not earthquakes in Chicago. Wonder how many buildings would be standing. Most of them will be standing. They're they're built into a ground rock, not sandbars. But what can I say? That's what my castle likes. Oh well.